16 things Disney World cast members secretly hate you doing. Have you ever wondered what Disney World cast members are really thinking behind those perfect smiles? Not the rehearsed answers, the real ones. Because behind every cheerful have a magical day is a human being managing one of the most complex live shows on Earth, surrounded by tens of thousands of unpredictable guests. And here's the surprising truth. Cast members don't secretly hate guests. They hate the small habits that quietly break the system. The little things people do without realizing, things that slow everything down, create chaos, drain energy, or shatter the illusion for everyone nearby. Most of them aren't done on purpose. In fact, you've probably done at least a few of these yourself. In this video, we're counting down 16 things Disney World cast members secretly hate you doing, from harmless-looking habits that cause massive ripple effects to behaviors that put them in impossible situations. Fix even a couple of these, and you instantly become the kind of guest cast members love seeing. The one who gets smoother interactions, better energy, and sometimes even unexpected magic. So let's pull back the curtain, because once you know these, you'll never move through Disney World the same way again. Number 16, stopping dead in the middle of a walkway for photos. You see the castle. The lighting is perfect. The music swells at just the right moment. Your brain goes, this is it. This is the shot. So you stop, right where you are. Phone up. Maybe you even take a step backward to frame it better. And instantly, everything behind you turns into human bumper cars. What most guests don't realize is that Disney walkways aren't just sidewalks. They're engineered traffic lanes. Crowd flow is planned down to the hour, especially during parades, fireworks buildup, and that hot mid-afternoon stretch when everyone moves slower and patience runs thin. When someone suddenly freezes in the center of that flow, it creates a ripple effect. People behind you stop. Then they swerve. Then others collide into them. Within seconds, what should have been smooth movement becomes a knot of confusion. Cast members can't blow whistles or shout directions like traffic police. They have to step in gently, smiling, guiding, redirecting, all while pretending nothing unusual is happening. It's basically stage management disguised as hospitality. The fix is incredibly simple. If you want to stop, slide to the side. Stand near a wall, a planter, a trash can, anywhere that isn't the main lane. Same photo, same memory, zero chaos for everyone else. And if you think that tiny pause causes problems, wait until you hear what happens when people do this at the front of a line. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, please take a quick second to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it helps the channel more than you might think. Number 15, waiting until you reach the front to open the app or find your ticket. You've waited 40 minutes, maybe an hour. You shuffle forward inch by inch until finally you're next. The scanner is right there. And that's when you start searching. Phone out, screen asleep, brightness up, app loading, login required, password forgotten, signal suddenly drops, wallet missing, magic band won't scan, panic rising. Behind you, dozens of people watch your phone buffer like it's the world's slowest loading screen. Cast members operate on rhythm, scan, tap, load, dispatch, over and over, all day long. That rhythm keeps lines moving and wait times predictable. When someone arrives unprepared, the cadence breaks. The vehicle sits empty for a few extra seconds. The line stalls. The people behind you get tense. The cast member has to stay cheerful while quietly troubleshooting. Multiply that by hundreds of guests a day, and it adds up fast. It's not about impatience. It's about flow. Disney parks run like a giant machine, and even small delays ripple outward. The easiest upgrade in the world? Do a readiness check before you reach the front. Ticket open, brightness up, band visible, wallet in hand. 10 seconds of preparation makes you look like a pro and keeps everything moving smoothly for everyone else. Because the next habit doesn't just slow things down, it creates silent tension between guests themselves. Number 14, sending one person ahead to hold the spot for a whole group. You're in line. It's moving slowly but steadily. Then suddenly someone slips past you and says, "Excuse me, my family's up there." Fair enough, until 3 more people follow, then 4. Then suddenly, an entire group squeezes by, all heading to the same spot near the front. Now, the energy in the line changes. People exchange looks. Someone mutters under their breath. Kids ask why they can't do the same thing. What was a calm cue starts to feel tense. Cast members see this happen constantly. But calling it out publicly can escalate into arguments, embarrassment, or a full confrontation. Something Disney tries very hard to avoid in guest areas. So they often have to manage it quietly, stepping in only when it becomes excessive. Here's the part most guests don't think about. When large groups merge late, it slows loading. People stop paying attention to instructions. Boarding patterns break, and everyone behind them loses time they've already waited for. Bathroom emergency? Totally understandable. One person stepping out briefly is normal. But rejoining with a full squad at the front pushes the limits of fairness, and cast members know it. It's one of those behaviors that feels minor when you do it, but major when it happens to you. And speaking of things that cause tension, the next one can shut down an attraction completely. Number 13. Ignoring safety instructions because you think they don't apply to you. You've ridden something similar before. You know how it works. So when the announcement says remain seated, keep arms inside, stay behind the line, it feels optional. Stand up early to grab your bag, lean out for a photo, unbuckle just before the vehicle stops, step over a rope for a better view. Cast members aren't giving those instructions for fun. They're delivering rules that keep thousands of people safe every single day. Because one injury doesn't just affect one person, it triggers a chain reaction. The ride stops, the area locks down, medical teams arrive, reports get filed, guests are held in place, schedules collapse, hundreds or even thousands of other visitors suddenly have their plans disrupted, all from a single moment of, "It'll be fine." And the cast member at the controls has to deal with the fallout, managing confused guests, upset families, and the pressure of getting operations back on track. Safety rules aren't there to ruin the fun. They're the invisible guardrails that keep the entire system functioning. When they say, remain seated, keep your hands inside or stay behind the barrier, it's not a suggestion. It's the difference between a smooth day and a major shutdown. And if you think safety violations frustrate cast members, wait until you hear what drains them emotionally all day long. Number 12. Leaving trash behind like it magically disappears. A drink cup on a railing, a sticky plate abandoned on a table, a wrapper tucked into a planter, a half-eaten snack left on a bench like it teleported there. Sometimes it's accidental, but a lot of the time, it isn't. Disney World feels spotless because cast members are constantly resetting the environment, picking up, wiping down, emptying bins, restoring the storybook look that makes the parks feel special. When guests leave mess behind intentionally, it forces them to break that smooth, invisible routine. And they still have to do it smiling. Cleanliness isn't just cosmetic at Disney. It's part of the illusion. A pristine street feels magical. A dirty corner feels like real life sneaking back in. What makes this frustrating is that trash cans are everywhere, often themed, sometimes placed exactly where Walt Disney observed people would naturally want to throw something away. The fix is simple. If you carried it in, carry it a few more steps to a bin. And if something spills or breaks, telling a cast member helps them fix it quickly instead of letting it spread. Because the next behavior doesn't just create work, it chips away at morale. Number 11. Treating cast members like they're not real people. Snapping fingers, whistling, "Hey," from across the walkway, interrupting mid-sentence, talking over them, or dropping the classic line, "I paid a lot of money to be here." Disney doesn't call them employees. They call them cast members for a reason. The park is the stage, and every interaction is part of the performance. But under that name tag is a person who's been answering questions, solving problems, and staying upbeat for hours straight, often in heat, crowds, and noise that would exhaust anyone. When guests treat them like background objects instead of humans, it turns a job built on positive energy into something mechanical and draining. The opposite effect is surprisingly powerful. A simple "hi," eye contact, or "thank you" can reset the tone of an interaction instantly. Cast members remember those moments because they stand out in a sea of rushed, stressed conversations. It's not about formal politeness. It's about basic human respect. And if you think being treated like invisible staff is exhausting, the next habit puts cast members in situations where they can't even respond honestly. Number 10, trying to make characters break character. You walk up smiling, then ask, "So, who are you really? Is it hot in there?" Say something in your normal voice. To an adult, it might feel like harmless joking, But for the performer, and especially for the kids nearby, it puts them in a no-win situation. Disney characters aren't just costumes. They're roles that must stay believable for everyone in line, particularly the child clutching an autograph book like it's treasure. For that child, this isn't a performer. It's the character they've imagined meeting for months or even years. When someone pushes for reality, the character has to dodge the question creatively without embarrassing the guest or breaking the illusion. It's improv under pressure, with zero room for normal human responses. And remember, performers inside those costumes have limited vision, restricted movement, and intense heat. They rely on predictable interactions to stay safe and comfortable. If you want a truly magical moment, play along. Ask story questions. Compliment something in character. Let them lead. Because when you respect the fantasy, the interaction becomes memorable instead of awkward. And speaking of awkward, the next one turns cast members into unwilling background actors in someone else's viral video. Number 9. Filming cast members during tense situations for content. Recording your vacation is completely normal. Filming parades, rides, character meets, that's part of the experience. But some guests push it further. Phones shoved inches from faces, cameras rolling during arguments, zooming in when a mistake happens, posting clips online for laughs or outrage. Cast members are performers, yes, but they're not props. They're not extras in your personal show, and they're definitely not trained to handle being publicly recorded at their worst moment. Imagine trying to solve a problem, de-escalate an upset guest, or follow strict policy, while knowing every word might end up online. It adds pressure, embarrassment, and sometimes fear of disciplinary consequences, even when they're doing everything right. If you film, do it respectfully. Capture the environment, not the confrontation. If someone looks uncomfortable, that's your cue to back off, because the next habit doesn't just create discomfort, it makes cast members the target of frustration they had nothing to do with. Number 8. Getting angry at cast members for things they can't control. The ride breaks down, the storm rolls in, your lightning lane time shifts, the restaurant is fully booked, a show gets canceled, you've planned for months, you've spent a lot of money, emotions are high, so when something goes wrong, your brain looks for someone to blame, and the nearest cast member becomes the target. But that person didn't cause the breakdown, they didn't write the policy, they didn't summon the weather, they're just the face standing in front of you. What makes this especially hard is that cast members are trained to stay calm, polite, and helpful, even when they're being yelled at. They absorb frustration all day long from guests who are tired, overheated, disappointed, or overwhelmed. And here's the reality: anger rarely fixes the problem. It just makes an already difficult situation worse for someone who's trying to help. If something goes wrong, the best approach is simple. Ask what options exist. Sometimes there are alternatives, rebookings, or solutions that aren't obvious. But they're far easier to access when the conversation stays respectful. Because the next habit doesn't just vent frustration, it puts cast members in situations where helping you could actually get them in trouble. Number 7. Asking for special exceptions that break the rules. Can you just let us in? It's my kid's birthday. We're only a few minutes late. Can't you make an exception this one time? Sometimes it's polite, sometimes it's pressure. Either way, it puts cast members in an impossible position. Disney operations run on consistency. If one guest gets special treatment, the next guest expects it too. Soon it turns into arguments, accusations of favoritism, and chaos at the front lines. What most people don't realize is that bending rules can have real consequences for the cast member. A small favor for you could become a disciplinary issue for them later. That's why you'll often hear carefully worded responses like, "Unfortunately, I'm unable to do that, but here's what I can do." They're trying to help without stepping outside policy. If you truly need assistance, asking about available options works far better than asking someone to risk their job. Disney has systems for solving problems, but they work best when guests stay within them. And if you think rule pressure is uncomfortable, the next behavior creates real safety risks for performers while also shattering the magic for everyone watching. Number 6. Blocking parade routes, exit paths, or marked walkways. You're waiting for fireworks. The parade route looks like a great place to sit. The taped-off area seems empty. So you settle in. From your perspective, you're just finding a good spot. From Disney's perspective, you're sitting in a carefully planned traffic artery. Those painted lines, ropes, and keep clear zones aren't decoration. They're there to keep emergency access open, allow performers and vehicles to move safely, and make sure thousands of people can disperse without bottlenecks when the show ends. When guests ignore them, cast members are forced into an awkward situation. They have to approach, ask people to move, and potentially deal with resistance, all in front of huge crowds. And if enough people refuse, it can delay parades or create dangerous congestion when everyone stands up at once. After fireworks, those pathways become critical escape routes. Without them, the crowd has nowhere to go except into itself. It might feel like you're just sitting on pavement, but to the people running the show, you're blocking the system that keeps everything moving safely. And the next behavior doesn't just disrupt operations, it can actually put performers at physical risk. Number 5. Letting kids climb, grab, or get rough with characters. Hugs? Perfect. High fives? Wonderful. Gentle interaction is exactly what those moments are designed for. But climbing onto characters, pulling costumes, grabbing tails, or rushing them at full speed can be dangerous. Inside those costumes, performers have limited vision, restricted movement, reduced hearing, and sometimes heavy or bulky components. Large character heads dramatically cut peripheral vision. Gloves reduce grip strength. Shoes aren't built for sudden dodges. And here's the critical part. Performers can't react like normal people. They can't shout stop or push a child away without breaking character. They rely on attendants to step in while they stay and roll. A rough interaction can lead to injuries, falls, or costume damage, not to mention a frightening moment for the child if things suddenly go wrong. Teaching kids gentle hands protects everyone involved. It keeps the performer safe and preserves the magic of the interaction instead of turning it chaotic. Because the next behavior doesn't involve physical safety, it creates uncomfortable situations that ripple through the entire area. Number 4. Arguing loudly about rules in front of other guests. Something didn't go your way. A policy feels unfair. A reservation didn't work out. So the conversation gets louder. Suddenly, everyone nearby becomes part of it. Kids stop eating and stare. Other guests shift uncomfortably. The cheerful background energy evaporates. What was supposed to feel magical now feels tense and awkward. Cast members are trained to de-escalate calmly, but they also have to protect the experience for everyone else in the area. That means keeping voices low, maintaining composure, and trying to move the conversation somewhere more private without making you feel dismissed. When arguments happen in the middle of a restaurant, shop, or attraction entrance, it forces them into a delicate balancing act. Solve the issue, keep the show intact, and prevent a scene from spiraling. If you genuinely need help, stepping aside and speaking quietly almost always leads to a better outcome. It allows the cast member to focus on solutions instead of damage control, because the next behavior doesn't just create tension, it signals that the invisible social contract holding the parks together is starting to break down. Number 3. Treating the parks like normal rules don't apply because you're on vacation. Vacation mode can feel freeing. You've traveled far, spent a lot, and you just want to enjoy yourself. But sometimes that turns into ignoring boundaries that would be obvious anywhere else. Cutting across landscaping instead of using paths. Climbing on structures not meant for guests. Crossing ropes because it's just a quick shortcut. Standing where you're told not to because it looks like a better view. Disney parks only function smoothly because millions of people collectively follow small, often unspoken rules. When too many guests start acting as if those rules don't apply, operations slow down. Cast members have to intervene more often, and the atmosphere shifts from relaxed to strained. What makes this frustrating is that most people doing it don't think they're causing problems. Each action feels tiny in isolation. But multiplied across thousands of guests, those tiny rule bends become major obstacles. The parks work best when everyone plays along, not just with the fantasy, but with the systems that keep it running. And now, we're down to the final 2, where the issue stops being operational entirely and becomes deeply personal for the people behind the smiles. Number 2, acting like cast members are robots instead of people. From the outside, it can look like cast members run on autopilot. Same smile, same greeting, same directions repeated over and over. But underneath that polished performance is a person who woke up early, stood for hours, answered the same question hundreds of times, and still has to stay upbeat for every new guest they meet. When someone treats them like a machine, talking over them, ignoring them, showing impatience, or acting like they're just part of the scenery, it drains the energy that makes the job feel human instead of mechanical. And the truth is, most guests don't mean to do this. They're tired, overstimulated, focused on schedules, kids, reservations, heat, crowds. But from the cast member's perspective, it can feel like being invisible while still carrying all the responsibility. The flip side is powerful. A simple thank you, a smile, a moment of normal conversation can completely change the tone of an interaction. It reminds them they're not just a role. They're a person helping create someone else's memories. Because the final thing cast members secretly hate isn't about inconvenience, rules, or safety. It's about something much deeper. Number 1, forgetting that the magic only works when guests help create it too. Disney can design incredible rides, stunning environments, and flawless operations. They can train timing, posture, scripts, and procedures. But they can't program genuine kindness. Every day, cast members meet families having the best day of their lives and others having one of the hardest. First trips, final trips, exhausted parents, overwhelmed kids, celebrations, disappointments, everything in between. When guests are rude, dismissive, or hostile, the job becomes mechanical. The performance stays, but the warmth disappears. The magic turns into customer service. But when guests are patient, kind, and cooperative, something different happens. Interactions soften, moments stretch longer. Extra help appears. Small surprises happen, not because of a policy, because someone chooses to care. That's the biggest secret behind Disney World. The magic isn't one-sided. It's a collaboration between the people visiting and the people making it run. And when both sides show up with empathy, patience, and respect, the park stops feeling like a theme park and starts feeling like something truly special.